This is episode 131 of The Variety Artist. This is John Abrams, your host and that guy that interviews successful variety artists from around the world every single week. I'm back. Yay! Hope you're having a great new year. I'll bet you're wondering what I've been doing. Well, I've been going to online conventions, seeing virtual magic shows, attacking those 2021 goals. In fact, last year I joined the Discover Magic team. They're a terrific group of almost 100 magicians and magic teachers from all over the world. And at this last convention, I was awarded the Golden Wand of Excellence for my magic classes for kids. What an honor! Now, growing up is harder than ever. Kids just want to have fun, fit in, and find friends. All of my magic classes focus on magic, fun, and learning. The magic makes the fun happen. The fun makes the learning easy. If you have kids that want to have fun and learn tons of magic, shoot me out a message at john@thevarietyartist.com. I'll point you in the right direction and give you a huge discount on my classes. Just mention the Variety Artist Podcast. All right, enough about me. Today, you're going to meet someone that'll make you smile. You're going to learn about the future of clowning, the difference between the American clown and clowns from every other country, and best of all, you're going to learn how to create great relationships with your clients. This is a fun one, folks. Now, on with the show.
Welcome to The Variety Artist, providing aspiring artists and entertainers with in-depth discussions from top performers from all over the world. So get ready to book some gigs, make some money, and have some fun with your host, John Abrams.
He's traveled the world creating thousands of smiles for families of all ages. Now in his 24th year of performing, he educates and entertains nearly 500 times each year. When Lee created his clown character Lew-E at the age of 3, he had no idea that it would turn into his career. Variety artist, it's Lew-E Lee Andrews.
Hey, I know that guy.
How you doing, Lee?
I'm doing great. How are you, buddy?
Or is it Lew-E? I don't know. I don't know where to turn.
Just call me Louie. It's kind of like if I ever get lost and someone puts my picture on the side of a milk carton and they put Lee Andrews, nobody will ever know who that is.
Okay. Well, there's so much I want to talk to you about. Let's start with the 3-year-old.
Yeah.
You created this clown character when you were 3 years old. How did that work?
So I lived in a little rural town of Georgia, and we used to get the Super Sunday Bozo show out of Chicago, WGN, Joey Diaria. I used to watch that show every chance I got. In fact, there used to be a part where Joey Diaria and Rusty the Clown would throw pies at each other, and I would eat ice cream, and I'd slam the ice cream into the TV. At that point, we went through 3 TVs, and my father didn't kill me and figured out I was a weird child. I remember sitting there one time, and I said, Dad, I want to be a clown and make people happy. And my dad always says that's a very profound statement. And he remembered that. And I remember that he said, okay, well, let's figure that out and see what that is. My dad worked at a trucking company. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. We had no entertainment in our blood whatsoever. So we set forth to figure out this clowning thing. And I remember the first time I ever got dressed or whatever, my mom put as much lipstick on me as she possibly could, had this really girly looking wig.
Oh no.
It was just the epitome of wonderful, let me tell you. And we went to this little county fair, and we just did it to go walk around. And this lady.
Wait, how old are you at the time? About?
Like 3 or 4. Yeah.
Oh, so you're still young.
I'm still little, itty bitty. This lady came up and said, oh my gosh, that's the most beautiful looking little girl I've ever seen. And I looked at my mom, and, we figured out, okay, we got to find somebody.
Okay, wait. I have to stop you right there, only because when I was a kid, I have a similar story, not about clowning, but my mom never wanted to cut my hair. So when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I had long, blonde, goldy locks, and I had the exact same comments. Some guy came up and said, oh, what a cute little girl you have. And so my dad immediately said, that young man's getting his hair cut.
Oh, yeah. It was one of those things where I'm so glad she got the notion that we needed to figure this out. And it was at that county fair, believe it or not, there was 4 or 5 professional working clowns there. My mother rolled me up to him in the stroller and basically said, please, for the love of God, help me. And those 5 clowns at 3 or I think that was 4 at that point, took me under their wing. And I mean, it was butt to gut clowning from then on out. Every weekend, eat it, breathe it, live it, sleep it, walk it, talk it. At every free time my mom and dad have, they were taking me to do something clown related with either those people or clown conventions or whatever you could name.
That is amazing, because a lot of kids at 3 and 4 or 5 years old, they say, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a policeman.
Yeah.
And thank goodness you didn't want to be a policeman and go in the back of a police car for over and over again.
A lot cheaper for my father, I'm sure, though. I remember the first time I was like 6 years old, and my dad said, okay, what do you want for Christmas? And I said, I don't know. So I went to see Santa Claus, and I told Santa I would like a pair of clown shoes, like real honest to goodness clown shoes. My dad started researching how much those were going to be. I remember him having a heart attack. He told me Christmas, he said, you almost never got these, but there was a man in Tennessee named Billy Prince who made me my first pair of clown shoes. If it weren't for my parents and the supportive nature of just them taking this young kid and going, okay, let's figure out this path. I don't, if they weren't as supportive as they are, I don't think I would be doing this right now.
So there was almost nowhere else to go. I mean, you started it as a clown,
right?
Continued as a clown, and became a clown.
That's right. I've never had another job. I've never done anything else. Normal high school kids get a job at, a shopping mall or a store or a fast food place. I never did that. I just clowned. And that turning point happened when I was about 8. We went to the bank to open me up a savings account. They have this thing here called Piggy Bank Day. In fact, it might be a national thing, National Piggy Bank Day. It's where you go to the banks to open your kids a savings account.
Okay.
Went in, and the bank president asked my father, I'm sitting there, but asked my father, hey, Roy, doesn't your son twist balloon animals? And my dad said, yeah. Well, do you think he would like to do this for the Piggy Bank Day here in a week or so? Mm-hmm. And my dad said, I don't know. Let's ask him. So my dad turned to me and was like, well, what do you think, Lee? Would you like to do this? Da, 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 da. And I said, sure. So my dad was the complete middleman through this whole thing. The bank president he wouldn't talk to an 8-year-old. It had to go through the adult to the child and back. So finally it rolled down. Well, how much do you think Lee would like to get paid? Again, I'm sitting 5 feet away from him. So I just said, forget it. I cut my dad out as the middleman. I looked at him. I said, well, Mr. Bazemore, it costs us $75 to open up the savings account. So how about this? You pay me the $75 and open up my savings account so my dad doesn't have to put the money in the account, and I'll do the piggy bank day.
Wow.
And he was just taken aback, and he said, well, what about $50? I said, no,
75.
$75 to open up the savings account. You pay it, I'll open it, or I'll do the gig. And he did it.
So you're 8 years old and you made $75 already?
$75 twisting balloons at the piggy bank day.
Oh, that's great.
I remember getting in the car with Dad and telling him, I'm going to do this for a living. I can totally do this. And,
well, at 8 years old, you're already making $75. I mean, multiply that out by the time you're 25. Goodness gracious.
Oh, yeah.
Some serious cash.
Dad learned about, at least in that year, that this was not just a phase, that this was going to be something we're dealing with. This is now an issue.
Oh, yeah.
And it never went away. And I hit high school and was pulling down gigs left and right. And I always loved going to the principal's office to collect shows for doing school assembly programs for the elementary schools in our system, because he was nosy and he would check out the check, that I was getting.
Yeah.
And luckily I had great mentors like Ken Scott and people who live in my network of people that I knew what I should be charging, what I should be doing. So he would hand me a nice size check, and he was always floored that he's giving this to a 10th grader. He said, there is something morally wrong with this, but here you go.
Well, I do a lot of school assemblies also, or did before COVID, I guess. Now I'm doing them all online. Whenever a teacher or a PTA mom would look at my check, they'd be like, oh my gosh, that was for 2 45-minute shows? How is that possible? But what they don't account for is all the practice that you've done beforehand, all the time you spent marketing your particular show and all of those things. So it isn't just 2 45-minute shows. It's hours and hours and hours of work.
It's kind of like here with, because we do summer reading programs here, just like I'm sure they do where you are. And that is a lot of road time during the summer. So I always tell people I get paid to travel. I practically do the shows for free. They're paying me to ride all over the place and set up the show. The show is just the fun part. It's like my cookie for the day of doing such a good job getting there safely.
Are you quoting me? Because I've said that so many times. It's true. I mean, setting up and breaking down and driving, that's what taxes us.
That's right. Yep. A good close friend of mine, Dwayne Reynolds, swears if he could ever afford a driver to just drive him places, he would do that. I don't know. I don't know if I could ever do that. That's one of my favorite things about what we do is driving. I really love the travel aspect of it, especially when it's fair season and, I'm doing 300 or 400, 500-mile jumps. It's just, I don't know. I'm weird.
As strange as that may sound, that is something that I miss right now, is hopping in my car, putting on my different podcasts, just driving, looking at the mountains and looking at the beach. I'm in California, so I have both mountains and beach, and just driving and enjoying the drive. It's kind of strange, but I actually miss that.
Oh yeah, rub it in, Mister. I'm in California. I get the beach and the palm. I have squirrels and pine trees and naked old ladies mowing their lawn. Anyways, we won't talk about that. I'm sorry I mentioned my mother. But anyways.
Oh, all right. Well, let's change the subject a bit.
Sure.
When you first started, when you grew up doing clowning, you were mainly exposed to American clowning, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was. I went to my first clown convention in 1997. I was 6 years old. At that clown convention, I met the single most important person that has molded me and shaped who I am as a performer, and that was Leon McBride. Leon McBride is the epitome of American circus clown. That's how, in the early days, that's mostly the image and the style that I based what I do off of. That's what I knew. And as I got older, Google came about, and I learned, oh my gosh, there's so much that it's like the endless rabbit hole of this entertainment stuff opened up, and I figured out, oh my gosh, there's a whole lot more than just this one box of stuff here.
Well, what do you find is the difference between American clowning and different country clowning or European clowning?
You will find similarities in all styles of clowning across the board. But what makes the American style clown so different? Probably Ringling clowns would be how the image of the American clown is based. The hard grease paint makeup, where and their actions are big. It's blow 'em up comedy. It's more like Animaniacs on steroids. It's Spike Jones, and how many pies can we throw? What can we blow up? How many confetti cannons can we shoot off? As opposed to European style clowning is, first off, not in a 3-ring circus. It's in an intimate 1-ring setting, and it's more about telling a story through the act. However, you're still getting laughs and whatnot, but it's more like painting a portrait than destroying the art gallery.
Gotcha.
And none is right, and one is, both of them are great. It's just different approaches to clown as a whole.
So do you try to draw from both?
Oh, all the time. So if we're talking in essence of putting a painting together, my style is creating a Picasso. I want to take a little bit from every facet that I can to create this well-rounded character and this well-rounded, stupid clown that I have.
What do you think we can do to change the perception of American clowns? I mean, a clown, the word clown itself is sometimes derogatory. Oh, look at that clown.
Yeah.
How can we change that?
To a layperson, clown is sometimes a 4-letter word. So this is not John Abrams' thought, and this does not reflect his podcast in any way. So please do not unsubscribe from him for my puny put here.
Thank you for the disclaimer.
You're very welcome. So here's what happened, or what I feel has happened in American clowning. Clowning has become very organizationalized, meaning you have these different organizations that started in the 60s and 70s. So people who do clowning here can go and attend and learn and compete in these competitions. And that was great for that time period. But what, in my opinion, has happened is we have done a very bad job within the organizational side of clowning of adapting to new world audiences, meaning in this day and age, we are still teaching them at these conventions how to clown like we're in the 60s and 70s. And that doesn't work for a child of 2020 or 2021. And it's not that they have left us behind. It's that we have done a horrible job as a group of keeping up with what the changes are and how to take this art form that we love so much, repackage, rebrand it, and remarket it to this day and age of children. And some people have got it and some people understand it, but there's still a large majority of the clown world that is stuck in this 1960s, 1970s ideology of you can't wear long sleeves, don't eat in makeup. They have this commandment list that they live by. It really is dragging the art form, in my opinion, as a whole back.
Yeah.
And I talk about this a lot. I feel like in the terms of clown now, we're really in a renaissance period, and it's really beautiful to sit back and watch all these people who are having like this awakening that I did when I was young of going, oh, there's so much more than just this box.
Yeah.
It's interesting sitting back and watching all these people start to discover, oh, there's this and we can use this, but we can still do this, but this ties to this. And, it's just interesting to watch that.
Yeah. I love that you bring that up because I think every industry goes through that stretching process. The educational industry, I was just talking to somebody about reading, writing, arithmetic. Those are the three things that were really important in the 50s. But now we have computers, we have social media, we have so many things in addition to reading, writing, and arithmetic. So,
That's right.
So we need to move that into the future. The same with the magic world. In the 50s and in the maybe early 60s, you're talking about tuxedos and bow ties, whereas nowadays, maybe even 20 years ago was David Blaine, and then nowadays Chris Angel. So we get into the different street kind of magic, and we've been trying to progress throughout the years. And I see those periods of people holding on to the past.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's how can you take the past, make it work, and rebrand it for the future? And how can you make it relatable to your audience of today? It's interesting. I'll go to perform, and in my pre-shows of my show, I'll talk to the kids about cartoons that I grew up with. How many of them have seen Looney Tunes? How many of you know who Roadrunner is? It's amazing just how many children do not know that or do not know about those characters.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay, so who are the new Looney Tunes? Who is the new Roadrunner? And how can I figure? It's a lot of homework, and some people just aren't up to the task, but I love it. I love trying to figure out how to spin it and make it and figure it out.
Yeah, me too. When I first started doing this, I'd use all sorts of pop culture during my show, which worked great 20 years ago. But then all of a sudden I'd bring up, like you just saying, the Roadrunner or Bugs Bunny or something, and it wouldn't get a laugh. And I'd be like, oh, I must be either getting old or my routines are getting old. So I've had to change it throughout the years. And I'm that weird guy that sits in my living room and watches kids' cartoons because it's homework.
That's right. You have to. It's just a part of the job, but that's another part of the job I really enjoy. And having a 4-year-old here at home now, it doesn't make me seem as weird anymore. So
yeah, I can no longer use that excuse. Both my kids are older.
Well, I've got another baby on the way, so I at least get to stretch it out a little while longer.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. You got some time.
Yeah, plenty of time.
So tell me about the American Clown Academy.
So the American Clown Academy was founded quite a few years ago by Jeff Potts and his business partner in Newark, Ohio. There used to be a clown camp that happened many moons ago that was ran by Leon McBride called Advanced Studies in the Art of Clowning. And Jeff and I and a bunch of our colleagues have attended that camp, and that was absolutely one of the most life-changing events that we ever attended to this day. So Jeff started the Clown Academy with like that in mind of how Advanced Studies was. Jeff Potts.
Oh, Jeff Potts.
No, Jeff Potts, yeah. And so Jeff created this, and I didn't make it to the first year because I was on the road with the circus, but the second year I said, I'm going to go and see what this is all about. I went and attended, fell in love with it. Jeff asked me to come back and teach the third year. Every year after that, I went back and taught. Well, they had a 5-year plan, he and the business partner. And truthfully, I don't think they ever thought that they would make it to 5 years to carry this on. And we rolled over the 6th year, and we're sitting there having lunch one day, and Jeff comes and sits down. He goes, I only had a 5-year plan. We're in year 6. I don't know what else to do. He said, and my wife was there with me, and he said, I think you need to take it over. And I said, what?
What?
He said, yeah, you need to take it over and do something with it because you'll change it up. I said, okay, be careful what you asked for. And Rebecca and I went and talked about it, and we told him before the end of camp, okay. I took everything over and moved it to Georgia. We went from a camp where we could only hold 48 people total, and that included staff, to where now we're at a camp where we can have upwards of 300 people if we wanted to.
Wow.
But I still like that intimate feeling, and it's all about one-on-one time with instructors. So we bring in about 40 instructors of the highest caliber. We've had Avner Eisenberg, Buster Balloon, Barry Mitchell is coming. He hasn't been yet. We don't just have clowning instructors. We have instructors from all facets of entertainment, because you can pull and draw from each of those to well round your clown. Again, not looking at just this one box. Let's pick from all of the boxes and help build yourself. That is it's a full week of just butt to gut fun learning. We put on a big fundraising show in town here, and we partner with the school system, and we raise about $5,000 to $6,000 every year for them doing that.
Nice.
You know, it's one of those things where we charge a very low registration fee. Rebecca and I don't collect a check for it. We pay our instructors what they should be paid, and the students get to come and have an amazing time.
So if I'm interested in clowning, I need to go down to Georgia for it. Is it during the summer? Is it all year long? What is it?
It's just in August. It happens for a week. You know, it hits in a weird time of the year for a lot of people. I mean, it hits in the middle of fair season for me. So usually I'm in Wisconsin and I have to fly home, leave my stage trailer and everything in Wisconsin, and then fly back up and do a fair the week after camp. It really is an amazing time. I really am glad I took it over, because it's been a great way for me to give back to an art form that has given so much to me.
And I found too, when you teach something, you learn more about it when you teach.
That's right. Yeah. And I make a great middleman. I've been blessed to have made some amazing friends throughout my lifetime, and a lot of them come to camp and teach now. So I'm a great middleman in that aspect of, okay, let's get Avner here to teach. Let's get Angel Contreras here. Let's get this and this. And I make a great middleman to put together a good staff. One of the rules is, if it's not fun, we don't do it. Mm-hmm. Try to make it as fun as possible, but still heavily education driven.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of those folks that you're mentioning have been on my show.
Yeah.
And Barry Mitchell and Ken Scott. Yeah. Good old Ken. I love him to death. So when you drive in your car, it's like, hey, here's another old friend on my show. That's
right. Yeah. It's pretty great.
All right. So let's change subjects a little bit. Sure. When you start putting a show together for yourself, not for other people, but for yourself. Now, where do you start? Is there a process, or how do you go about doing that?
For me, there are two main markets that I work in now. It's fairs and festivals, and then libraries. And as you know, as a library performer, a lot of my shows start with the theme. What is the national theme? Because in the markets that I work in, I'm not lucky enough to have librarians that say, just come do a show. They expect it to be themed to whatever that national summer reading program theme is for that year. For a library show, I start with the theme, and then it's, okay, how can I make the theme funny and also not be a magic show or a straight juggling show? How can I intertwine all of this stuff within the theme so it's more not, hey, watch this, or hey, do you want to see this? It's like an ebb and flow roller coaster. And in fact, the summer reading programs are the only shows that I do where you'll see my puppet partner, Oogly Boogly. I was always an anti-puppet guy, never liked puppets. I said I will never use one until Dwayne Reynolds and I went to our first Cadabra conference in Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
And walked into the dealer's room, and there was this monster puppet on the Axtel table staring at me. Dwayne just walked off, and I picked up this puppet, and he and I immediately started having a conversation. It was amazing. And he videoed it, and I didn't know it, and he sent it to my wife.
Do you still have that original video?
Somewhere, I'm sure. But my wife bought me that monster puppet for Christmas, and I didn't know it. And so when he got there, When I opened him up, it changed my summer reading shows for the better, and it changed my attitude on using puppets. I haven't got quite comfortable enough to put him into my fair shows yet, even though a lot of the fairs I work are still in the markets where I do libraries. So if a child comes to a fair and they see the Lew-E show, typically when they come up to get a picture afterwards, they'll go, "Hey, where's Oogly?" or "How's Oogly?"
Yeah.
Can you tell him I said hi? Which is really great. For a library, it's that kind of thing. But for a fair show, it's quite different. For a fair show, I write my material not for kids. Now I go blue or go, out of color for a family show. I write my material for teenagers and adults. Children are automatically going to love what I do. But I spend a lot of time thinking about, okay, what is going to get a teenager and a mom or a dad to put down their cell phone and enjoy something wholesome for 30 minutes together? And I start putting bits together, and it's kind of like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. I'll put pieces of paper on the wall and map everything out. And that's when I start hitting the old buttons of the Looney Tunes and the Three Stooges, and because those are things that they remember seeing growing up.
Right.
And that style is more what they're going to pay attention to.
And the kids are going to find that funny anyway.
Kids are automatically going to love it. So I gear everything in the fair and festival market to entertaining teenagers and adults. And what's been really cool is more than a couple of times, I've had parents come back to a fair a year later, and they'll come after a show and they'll grab me and say, "Thank you so much for being here, because we now eat dinner at the family table and talk to each other. We don't just go off in our separate rooms and do our own thing. We now engage with each other. We'll go to a family movie once a week." And I'll tell them, "Well, that's not because of me." They said, "No, it absolutely is, because when we got in the car, when we left here, all we could talk about was that stupid clown show we watched and what we liked and what was funny. We didn't talk on the cell phone the whole way home."
Wow.
And that is that's better than any paycheck I could ever get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as long as we're talking about people, what is you're kind of known for your relationships with your clients. And I don't mean relationships, but having good relations with your clients and having them book you over and over again.
Well,
what are the keys to that?
Oh my goodness.
Your philosophies about that.
Relationship marketing for me is everything. I legitimately want to be everyone's friend, not to book them, but I just want to be their friend. I have potential clients on my phone that have never booked a dime with me, but I still call them on their birthday. I call and check on their kids, because one day it'll align where we can work together. People are very important to me. So where you listen to podcasts during the summer reading time when we're on the road,
yeah,
I'll sit in the car and I call people. I call just to talk to them. How are you doing? How's your mother? I have this really weird ability that I've had since I was little, that I remember crazy details about people. I mean, really crazy details. I can remember their child's name and they may mention it for a split second, but I can recall that kid's name a year later and call them and say, "Hey, I'm just driving, I'm calling to check on you. Did I catch you at a bad time? How's Austin? Is Austin doing okay? He must be 5 or 6 now." And it's just, I don't know. Dwayne, who I'll mention him a lot, he's my best friend in the world, but Dwayne says that's your superpower.
That is a superpower.
You remember the most crazy details about people. Another thing is I'm legitimately sincere. I just love people. People, without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do for a living. Without people on fair boards, or without librarians, I certainly wouldn't be able to make a living doing what I'm doing. So I'm grateful for those people being in my life and affording an opportunity for me to do what I do. And I try to pay that back. And, I can't necessarily send every single one of them a gift card, but I can pick up the phone and call them and let them know I'm thinking about them and that I care about them and their family. And if there's anything I can ever do for them, let me know. So I do that a lot. Even through through the pandemic, I've spent more time on the phone, just calling people, seeing what I can do for them. When the pandemic first hit, my first phone call was to as many librarians as I possibly could, emails to, letting them know, "Hey, I know this is a crazy time for you, but I'm going to be putting together little bitty short fun pieces for you to put on your social media pages and stuff from Lew-E, just to break up the monotony so you don't have to talk about the pandemic or the library closing all the time. It's just free of charge. I just want to do that because you've been there for me.
Wow. And they love that.
They loved it, and it was setting up a backdrop and spending 2 hours of my time shooting these short little 30-second stupid things, putting them in Dropbox and sharing the link. It really wasn't any effort on my part. Not like I had anything else going on anyways.
And who's the first person they're going to think about when this whole thing's over?
Right. And if they don't, that's fine. At least I did something nice. The end game for me is not always to have them book me. The game is just to be there for them and know that they can always count on this short little fat clown with a red nose. And in turn, that comes back and pays for itself tenfold.
Yeah, that's great advice. And for people that don't have the superpower that you do, and I certainly don't, I don't remember, the dog's name and the kids' names and all that. I put it in a CRM,
right,
a management system. And so it looks like I'm really smart, but the truth of the matter is my computer's really smart.
That's right.
But I don't have that superpower.
Well, and I still have to write some stuff down. For instance, there's a fair that I work where one day during the fair, I decided I wanted to go on a fishing trip and go take out a catfish fishing boat. And we went out and caught 300, 400 pounds of catfish. And instead of keeping all that, or I would have never have ate it, I don't eat fish anyways, I took all the fish back to the fair. And after our last shows, 3 entertainers and I, Gene Cordova, Dwayne Reynolds, and myself, we got together and fried up all the fish for the fair board. And we fed them for like an hour and a half. And we just had fun, just hanging out and spending time with their families, getting to know them. They remember that kind of stuff. They really appreciate it. And you have to do it with a certain level of sincerity, or else they'll read through it and go, oh, you're just doing this so we rebook you.
Well, it sounds like you're doing it because you honestly love
I just want to do
it,
and I love people.
All right, we're going to change gears a little bit here and do fact or something John just made up. Sound like fun?
I am ready. This sounds great.
Because everybody looks forward to this one, huh?
This is fantastic.
Is it fact? Or is it something John just made up?
Okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to say a headline, and you're going to tell me whether it's true or not. And if it is true, tell me a little more about it.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Number 1. When Lee traveled with the Cole Brothers Circus, an elephant smashed his cell phone.
That is absolutely true.
An elephant?
That was absolutely true. And not just any cell phone, but the first generation iPhone. And it was the first smartphone I'd ever had.
It wasn't so smart after that.
It was not so smart after that. No, we had an elephant on Cole Brothers Circus named Viola. I went in to do, because I was their advance clown, meaning I did all the promotion for the circus. I would be in towns 2 weeks before the show got there. I would do their TV, their radio, their school shows, that kind of stuff. And, I went to do a school tour at the circus, so I had to travel back. And I had about 300, 400 kids there, and we did the tour. And afterwards, I went over and I was talking to my now wife on the phone, and Viola gets very jealous when you don't give her any attention. She reached over, grabbed that cell phone right out of my hand, and just held it. And I said,
with her trunk?
With her trunk. Yeah, she grabbed it with her trunk and she held it. And I said, Viola, don't you do it. Don't you? And she put it on the ground and she stepped right on it. And my wife thought I died. I had to find some way to call her and tell her, no, I didn't die. But an elephant really did just smash my cell phone, which made it even more interesting going to the Verizon store trying to explain to them there's no insurance policy in the world that covers elephants stepping on your phone.
Yeah, I don't remember signing that paper.
No, it doesn't happen. But yeah, so that's absolutely true.
That's crazy. Years ago, I worked for a magician. We did corporate events all over the country. I was the stage assistant. And so it was my job to launder everything and get everything nice and clean. And anyway, we were working with tigers. And so one day, this tiger decides to take a big old giant pee on all of the blankets, all of our packing blankets.
Oh, and For those that don't know, that is horrible. That is not, it's catastrophic.
Pardon the expression, catastrophic. I mean,
catastrophic, that's right.
Picture a cat pee smell times 10 or 20.
Amplified by 20. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a similar story to yours. I take it down to the dry cleaners, and I had a bunch of these packing blankets, and I said, well, I need to have these packing blankets cleaned. And they said, well, what happened? I said, well, a tiger peed on them.
What's funny is we used to clowns on the road with us. That was one of the first things we teach them, along with stay out of the way of the elephants, is stay away from the tiger cages because they'll pee on you.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them wouldn't listen to us. So to break them, we would stand on the other side with a spray bottle. We would wait for them to get too close, and we'd just go and spray across the tiger cages, and they would freak, and they would run back in the trailer right before spec, have to change all their clothes because they think they have tiger pee all over them when it's just water. It was great. Oh, I love that so much. But yeah, tiger, oh man, if they could bottle that stuff, we could end a lot of the problems of the world.
It's awful. It's awful. All right, let's go to the next one.
Okay.
Lee has 9 different colored noses.
Yeah, no, that one's false.
Okay.
Yeah, I only have one. If I had 9 different colors, I would never make it to a gig on time. It's hard enough for me to figure out what pair of pants I want to wear, and all I do is wear plaid and stripes. So,
do you have one outfit, or do you have a couple of different outfits?
I live with an amazing wife who sews, so I have endless amounts of clothes in my closet. So none of them look the same. There's no one specific wardrobe, but it's always going to be plaid and stripes of some kind.
I forgot to mention, I love your logo, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we were talking about clothes, but I was just thinking about the logo. Who did that? Was that Jay Rumpel that did that for you?
Yeah, Jay did that the first time, the glasses and the nose.
If anybody gets a chance, take a look at Lee's website, Lew-E. What is your website?
LeeAndrewsProductions.com.
Yeah, LeeAndrewsProductions.com, and take a look at the logo because it is terrific branding.
It is. I mean, I don't wear makeup anymore when I work. I just wear a red nose, and I have the black rim glasses because I'm blind as a bat.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's absolutely a perfect identifier for me in the brand.
Yeah, it's perfect. All right, let's go for the next one.
Okay.
Lee, you ready?
I'm ready.
Lee once performed for a group of school children in front of an escaped tiger, as long as we're talking about that.
That is absolutely, positively true.
Really?
It is. We were doing another school tour in New Jersey. We had a tiger trainer on the show that the marketing team could not get to do anything. She hated marketing because they weren't people. The marketing people on the show at that point all came from a wrestling background. So they were very gruff, very harsh, and not easy to deal with. So she would not do anything for them. So I get there that morning. The marketing guy says, okay, we have, 200 school kids, take them on a tour, show them around. I said, okay. And he had made some snide comment about the trainer earlier, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. So I said, you know what? I'm going to prove to him that she's not as bad as he makes her out to be. So I go up, and we're getting around and to her part of the back lot. And I go up to her door, and I knock on the door, and she comes to the door, and she says, hey, Lew-E. I said, Miss Vicenta, I have about 200 kids out here who absolutely love tigers. And I know that we just had a baby tiger here on the circus. Would you show them that baby tiger? She said, absolutely. And she treated us like royalty, which just dumbfounded the marketing director because it really irritated him that she treats them like absolute garbage. She shows the baby tiger off. We have a great time, and we move on down, and she comes up behind me, and she grabs me by the shoulder, and she says, we got a problem. I said, what's that? Uh-oh. She said, the tiger get out of the cage while we were putting the baby back. Can you get all the kids into the big top and till we get this taken care of? I said, absolutely. So I had to pivot. I said, okay, kids, we're going to go inside the big top now. You're going to get to see the circus clown magic show, and we're going to have a good time. We go inside, and we're sitting there, and I just had gotten to the point where I'm starting the show, and this little girl's hand goes up. You know how they are. The hand goes up. And I said, no. Questions after the show. I promise. And she hits it. And I go, okay, all right. Do you need to go to the bathroom? No. I said, what's wrong? She said, do you have tiger puppets here?
Uh-oh.
And I looked at her. I said, what? She said, do you have tiger puppets here? And I said, I don't think so. Why? She said, because that's a really cool tiger puppet across the tent over there in the chairs. And I turned around, and there is this big old Bengal tiger. I mean, in all of its glory, on just prowling around these chairs. And I went, well, great. Not only did I bring them to where the tiger is, anyway, so I told the marketing guy got Vicenta. She came in, and it was the most amazing thing, because as soon as this tiger was like a dog. I mean, just a little puppy dog, loved her to death, would do whatever, and she was the sweetest. And, she brought him over on a leash and walked him by. But it was like, man, if he turned around, I could have been a T-bone at any moment. Yeah, it was an incredible day at the show.
That's crazy story. I remember when we worked with tigers, the one thing the trainer would say was, don't get close to the tiger.
That's right.
Because he'll rip your arm right off.
Yep. Bears are worse. Elephants, are great. They just don't understand how big they are.
Yeah.
All in all, I worked with some amazing animal people on the circus, had some incredible times, and got to be around some of the most beautiful animals I've ever seen. And I can attest from my end, I never got to see the stereotypical mistreatment of animals.
Yeah, me either.
It really was an amazing thing to watch the love and interaction between the trainer and their animals. It was incredible.
Spectacular. All right, last one.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right.
Lee once almost died while playing Santa Claus for a famous country music star.
That one is also true.
Is that true?
I did. Yeah.
What happened?
Oh my goodness. I was almost killed by reindeer.
Oh no, wait. Okay, so you're playing Santa Claus, you're almost killed by reindeer while working with a famous country music star?
Yeah, so I had done this country music star's music video as a circus clown, and he overheard a conversation while we were on set about me being Santa. And he came over and he said, "Do you think you could do Santa for my daughters?" And I said, "Absolutely." So we worked out a time, and he lives at the end of a road on the other side of a cow pasture, about an hour and a half away from here. And he's got a nice big house, and it's very secluded. So you pull up to the cow pasture to get to his house. And I look down where there's like a sea of trees. I see all these lights down there, and I go, "What is that?" So I go out and open the gate, and I go on down, and it's all his band and his friends, and they're on these gators, those all-terrain vehicles, the little things they use on farms. And then I look, and there is a sleigh and about 6 reindeer tied together, harnessed up so they could pull the sleigh.
Like real reindeer?
Like real living, breathing reindeer.
Okay.
There's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. Reindeer don't like each other, and they don't necessarily want to be tied up to each other. You can have trained reindeer. You can only train them in pairs. You can't do 6 of them together. So this guy had sold to this country music artist. He had 6 trained reindeer that could pull the sleigh with no problem and drop Santa Claus off at the front door of his house, which I have known this trainer, and he's notorious about this, and he just doesn't care. He's there to make a check. I get out of the car, and I'm talking to the country music guy, and he says, yeah, this guy's got this and this and this. And I went, my gosh. And I said, "So what are you going to do?" He put you in the sleigh. We're going to lead you about 100 feet to the end of the trees and let you go. And when we let you go, all you're going to do is say, "Whoa," and they'll stop, and you'll get out and deliver the gifts, visit with the girls. I said, "Sure." It's too late to argue. It's, also it's a very famous guy, so I'm not going to be a jerk and tell him we're not going to do this.
And of course you can't say who it is, right? Of course.
Well, I can. It's Zach Brown.
Okay.
Zach Brown Band. I get in the sleigh, and this animal guy is leading to the end of the trees, and I don't know what happened. No clue to this day. He let me go, and he said, "Now remember, just say whoa, and they'll stop." I said, "Okay." So we go about 50 feet, and something spooks these reindeer, and they take off.
Oh, no.
Like like just thunderbolts. They are gone, and I'm holding on to this rein and the reins and the sleigh. Toys are flying everywhere. We're flying through the backyard of this guy. A lot of people don't realize Zach Brown stands on his back porch and he hits golf balls into his backyard, and he never picks them up because the companies just send him more. So we would, when we were shooting the music video with the circus, we would place bets on who was going to fall and break their ankles next.
Yeah.
So all these reindeer they're just tripping everywhere. So finally they stop. All these redneck guys come, and I say that with all the love in the world. These redneck guys come with their gators over the hills, through the trees, to come save me off of this sleigh, and they're picking up the toys and everything. And anyways, they get it. I'm shaking, but I'm walking towards the house, and the girls, his daughters, are peeled to the window, noses pressed in as hard as they could. And I go up to the door, I knock, and the girls come to the door and go, "Santa, you flew in your sleigh to come see us." And I went, "That's absolutely what I did. You are absolutely right. Nobody else usually gets to see that, but you are so special." Never skipped a beat. Nothing else was wrong. Everything was fine. I didn't have to explain that I almost died. We were good.
Couldn't have worked out better.
Couldn't have worked out any better. So that was, but I did almost die by reindeer.
That was fact. Or something John just made up.
All right, we have some fan questions for you. How about some fan questions?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. First fan question. Christopher Barnes, aka Christopher T. Magician, says, "Why are you so good?"
I don't know. I love that guy. He's the one that's good.
He is great. He's from my area here. He's terrific.
Oh, he's fantastic. And I don't know that I see myself as good. I do know that I always have fun. And I think that the sincerity that I have towards people and the love that I have towards people comes across in my audiences or comes across to the audiences. So therefore, they have fun as well. And they know I'm not going to do anything to degrade them or belittle them. You know, I try to create a safe environment for everybody that comes to see my show, even when we're outdoors at fairs. And I think that's gone a long way in helping me have some sort of success, whatever that is.
Brett Bolich, an excellent magician and super punter out of Southern California, says, "What made fairs more attractive to perform than any other market?"
So for me, one, it's the long contract. Typically fairs are going to be 5 to 14 days in some cases. So the thought process behind having somewhere that I'm going to be in one spot for 5 days, performing consecutive shows, one check collect at the end of the event. I don't have to drive in between each show. I don't have to set up but one time and tear down one time. That was really attractive to me. And the pay is quite well for doing county and state fairs. So it's still a lot of work, but to me, it's less work than doing my library tour in June and July.
Oh yeah, because you're just driving and hustling.
Right. And now that I have a child and have another one on the way, having those longer spots is more enticing to getting my wife and children to come visit me on the road because we're not traveling so much in between. You know, that's what makes it attractive to me. I genuinely love the market. I like the long-term contracts and also the loyalty of those people in the fair industry. They really support people who support the industry.
Excellent. Brett will love that. All right, Wayne Moulton, the purveyor of magical memories at Sages Entertainment out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, asks, "What are the top 3 to 5, we'll go with 3, things that a fair performer should know that are not obvious?"
That's a good question. And again, this is my opinion. My number one that I think a lot of people, especially show people, put first that they shouldn't is they put the show first and the look second. There's an old show saying, "Flash is cash." For me, number one, most important thing is it looks good. Especially my stage now is 40 feet long. I take up an area 50 feet wide by 30 feet deep. The fairs could sell that 50-foot wide area and that depth for money to their vendors rather than putting a show there. So the show needs to look dynamite. It needs to look fun. It needs to look inviting. It needs to look like it belongs on the midway. The show, it's kind of like why we set up backdrops in schools and libraries. You want to create that atmosphere prior to the show so you don't have to work as hard. I want that to look good on the midway, and I want it to make it easier for when I go out and do the show. It's already set the premise of what they're going to see. It looks fun. It looks inviting. It looks engaging. So that would be one of the things I think is important.
There's one.
Right. The second most important thing is, in order to work in the industry of fairs, I think you need to be a supporter of the industry, meaning if you work within the industry, join the state association. Every state in the United States has an association of fairs for that state. So if you're going to work in Georgia, I belong to the Georgia Association of Agricultural Fairs. Any market that I work in, I join that state association because I want to support their work in the industry. I also belong to the IAFE. Oh my goodness, IAFE's name just went out the window. Anyways, it's the big Kahuna convention. It's where everybody in the fair industry goes. It's like 3,000 or 4,000 of our people. It's where our tribe gets together, and we get to spend 3 or 4 days together, and we get to do a trade show. And the larger fairs go there, but so do the smaller fairs. And it's kind of like when you go back to the state association convention, because that IAFE convention always happens prior to most states' conventions. When you go back to the state conventions after that, people see you and you've already created this relationship, so you can carry on conversations there. So support the industry because they do a lot for you, and they could use the support.
Sure, that's two.
And third,
do you have another one?
Yeah, I got one more,
Okay.
And then I'm done. Third is plan your show to be fast and engaging and fun. Performing in the fair market is completely different than doing a stage show, completely different than doing a library show. It's a different animal in all aspects. It's got to be fun, uplifting. It's got to be fast. It's got to pop. So when you're planning your show, don't be afraid of music. Don't be afraid of bigger routines that move faster. You've got a small window to catch people's attention, and find the stuff that moves fast to get them to sit on your bleachers. And also, don't do a 45-minute show. No fairs really want a 45-minute show because they want people out on the midway spending money.
What do they want? How much time? About
25 to 30 minutes is industry standard, because if you can get them there, have fun, and then get them back out spending money, the fair appreciates that rather than a 45-minute to an hour-long show.
And then what kind of time do you have between shows?
That could vary. It depends on what kind of turnover for me they have at the fair. If they have a higher amount of turnover, meaning a person's ticket will keep them there about 2 hours, I'll do a show every 2 hours because I'll have a new audience. But if it's a smaller fair where the turnover may be, 6 hours, you adjust to that, because then you're going to be performing for the same kids all day long.
These are questions that I have, actually.
Yeah.
Are those time frames in the contracts? Or are those play by the seat of your pants and take a look at the audience and see what's going on?
Well, those will be set times before you arrive at the fair. Even if the fair hasn't set the times for me, I'll have my schedule made before I go to the fair. And I will give them a copy of the schedule after setup that I've made. And if they don't like it, I can adjust from there or do something to cater to them. But most of the fairs I work with, they're so used to having grounds acts there, they set our schedules prior to us even showing up.
2 more questions. One from Rob Balchunas, aka Rob the Balloon Guy.
Yay!
He asked a number of questions, but the one we haven't gone over yet is pros and cons to being a real bearded Santa.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
quick. Gotta get those in.
So the big con is you can burn your hair off as a real bearded Santa, because if you bleach it too much, it'll fall right off. That happened this year. But the pro to it is I'm much more comfortable. I'm able to eat during the day, and my pictures, the expressions and the character that comes through them is a lot better. So I will continue to work on being a real bearded Santa.
And do you find, this is a question from me, do you find that as you're growing the beard throughout the end of the year, that it limits your clowning?
Not at all. Not at all. It gives me something else to play with. It gives me another prop. Or if I'm at a fair and because I bleached this year and I did a fair, but I was blonde at the fair, I'll walk around and tell people, don't get the spiced pumpkin latte. This is what one of them will do to you. Stay away. It just gives me something else to play with. And I really enjoy that. So for me, it doesn't hinder it.
All right. Last question from your good friend, Dwayne Reynolds, AKA Dr. Magical.
Dumb.
Wait, what are you calling him?
Nothing. I'm not calling him anything.
Oh, no.
At all.
All right.
No.
He asks, what are your secrets to engagement on social media?
I saw this question and I called him and said, why the heck would you ask me about that? Because I am the worst at social media. And he said, no, you're not, because whenever you post something, you get a lot of return. And I said that, you got a good point. And I think it all goes back to that relationship marketing. If you build the right relationship with people, people are genuinely interested in what you have to say and what you're posting. And therefore, you'll get a greater return out of the things you put on social media. And I'm not a jerk about anything. I tend to not post things that are questionable or cause ripples. And if I do, it's probably something that needed to be said anyways. So it's all about relationships. It all goes back to relationships. And if you build the right relationship with people, your social media play will come across really, really well.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you. I like that question, Dwayne.
Yeah. Well, glad somebody did. Just kidding.
Well, thanks, Lee. This was fun. This is great. I'm glad I had you on today.
I'm absolutely honored, and I'm excited to see who else comes on here this next year. And I love listening to your podcast. You're doing a great service for us, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the people that come on here, including yourself. I mean, it's fantastic. Before I let you go, do you have any social media or something that you'd like to plug?
Can I just close out the show with my saying that I tell everybody?
Absolutely.
My saying is, I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. And I so appreciate you. And I can't wait to see what else happens this year.
And for all my variety artists, I have brand new magic classes starting in February. Just send me a message at john@thevarietyartist.com. Tell me you'd like to register your kids and I'll give you a huge discount. Now go out and book those gigs, make some money, and have some fun.
That's all for this episode of The Variety Artist, but your journey continues on our website. Go to thevarietyartist.com for more strategies, insight, and resources, as well as show notes on today's guest to assist you in your career. We'll see you on the next episode of The Variety Artist. But until then, go out and book those gigs, make some money, and have some fun.